Versatile, powerful, and ready to tackle the demands of early 20th century freight and passenger duty, the mountain locomotives with their 482 wheel arrangements could be found from coast to coast. Over 2,200 of these would be built for railroads as far east as Florida East Coast and as far west as Western Pacific. And number 179 here actually did both. Today, we're going to look at this early Lionel TMCC model of the massive mountain, take a peek into its history, and see if it's still worth running on your modern command control railroads. As with all of our reviews here on Datafied, we're going to start with a little history. I wasn't joking in that opening dialogue. This 482 Mountain was built by Alco in 1923 for the Florida East Coast line, which primarily saw use for passenger service. But when a hurricane paired with a stock market crash hurt their finances, they'd eventually be forced to sell 50 of the 90 Mountain locomotives that were in their roster. In August of 1936, Western Pacific purchased 10 of those, and this one here, number 179, is one of those that was from Florida East Coast. It continued to see most of its use with passenger service in the WP along iconic rails following the stunning Feather River route. 179 would continue operations, even pulling freight near the end of its career, before Western Pacific switched completely to diesel, and they did this earlier than most other railroads did. I'm not really sure what's more tragic, either how quickly Western Pacific switched to diesel, or the fact that none of these mountains survived the scrapper's torch, or at least none of Western Pacific's. What has survived is this stunning O-gauge model from Lionel. It's got road number specific dialogue.
Western Pacific 179, you are clear for departure.
It's got loads of separately applied details, and even a glowing ash pan. So it might surprise you to know that this model hails from the turn of this century. Released in the Volume 2 catalog for 2000, this massive steam locomotive retailed for $1,099 US, which is a hefty price tag back then, especially considering that this translates to nearly $2,000 in 2024. Still, this was considered to be a premium model. They didn't have Vision Line or other things like that back in the early 2000s. This is just on the upper end of TMCC offerings. Had all the latest tech from them too. TMCC was still pretty new. Odyssey speed control was very new. The nice lighting effects on this, and holy moly, can this mountain throw some sound. It's earlier TMCC, so it's not the most refined sounds. And some will scoff at the fact that the chuffs aren't right, but there's a way to fix that if it really bothers you. Lionel states that the minimum curve radius for the scale size 482 Mountain is 054. And yet, here it is going around 048 on my layout. And here it is faking its way around 036 in my switch yards. A bit of a disclaimer is in order. This locomotive hates 036 fast track switches. It'll go over them straight, but if it's a curved section, good luck. About 9 times out of 10, it will short out. Plus, I really feel like a locomotive this big and heavy isn't suited for going around 036 at any faster speed than a crawl. They're top heavy, I'm just afraid it's going to tip over. 048 is alright, but I even have some reservations running this train at full throttle when it comes to those sections, especially considering how far it will fall since the edge of my layout cuts pretty close to the track. But it's still neat to know that this big fella can defy its listing. I will say that the overhang of the cab and the front end look a little funny on 048 turns, but clearance shouldn't be too much of an issue. The neat thing about this mountain is visually it really holds up well, especially when compared to other newer legacy models. So much so that the mountains listed in the 2024 Volume 2 catalog share the same casting. They'll have a few updates with legacy control, Odyssey 2, LED lighting, and obviously more sound options, but as far as how the engines look, this is what it'll be, and it looks fantastic still. For its age, these hold up remarkably well, so if you're looking for a mountain to add to your roster, but you don't want to shell out $1,600 for a brand new one, you can find one of these for half the cost, or even more if you do some good digging around online. I found mine on trains.com, and I made a video about that experience, so check it out if you haven't already. These early TMCC models are proving to be a really great value for command control engines. They have great details and a scale size, but without that legacy price tag. They made these in other road names as well, including Southern. I even think it's a different number from the one that's in the 2024 catalog, so you could have 2 Southern Mountains with different numbers if you're really into those big green machines. Yeah, I'm looking at you guys. Caleb, Bobby, go get them. One of the things I really like about this train is that it kind of looks great with everything, and I mean scale stuff and semi-scale stuff, because it's got this small little cute oil burning tender. And I think that smaller size on the tender helps kind of balance the gigantic size of the locomotive up front. So it looks good pulling scale cars. Obviously, it should. That's what it's sized to be. It's a scale-sized locomotive. But it also looks really great pulling semi-scale stuff, especially my Rail King cars. And I have a lot of those. So that works out great. It even looks okay pulling more traditional 64 size cars. But it also looks great next to other semi-scale engines. This thing is right on the cusp of being big enough to not embarrass my Lion Master. If you're going to pull freight cars behind this and you want scale size ones, I can't recommend this set from Western Depot enough. My buddy Wipeout Trains recommended these to me, and I'm super happy with them. The details are fantastic. They match up perfect with the number 179 here, and they're just really a great set. He did a more in-depth review with these. I've got the link on screen, so if you'd like to check these out in more detail, go check out his video. He did a great job with it, and I'm really glad I paired these with this engine because they look fantastic, even though it technically should have passenger cars. Well, that about does it for the Mountain. Whether you're waiting to get the new one and just want to look and see what to expect, or you're searching for one of these TMCC versions, it's a fantastic looking engine that'll go great on just about any layout. Big Steam can still tackle smaller curves, so I'd say if you're on the hunt for one, don't hold back. If you got one already, or you have questions about mine, just leave a comment. Big thanks to those that helped me with kind of some of the research and such on this. I got their names listed in the description down below. And as always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.